Did you know that one of Hollywood's most beloved actors grew up not realizing his dad was a contract killer? I'm talking about Woody Harrelson. Yeah, the guy from Zombieland, The Hunger Games, and True Detective. But long before Woody became a star, his father was living a very different kind of life. One that would make a crime movie look tame.
Our story starts in Texas, back in the 1950s. Woody's father, Charles Harrelson, was only in his early 20s, a smooth-talking gambler with a bad habit of making the wrong choices. He bounced between odd jobs, but none of them stuck. What did stick was his addiction to gambling and his growing debt. When that caught up to him, he turned to crime and got arrested for armed robbery.
Charles managed to get out of serious prison time by cooperating with authorities, just 5 years of probation. By then, he was already married with 3 young sons, one of whom was a little boy named Woodrow, later known to the world as Woody Harrelson. But the family life didn't last long. By 1964, after years of gambling and legal trouble, Charles's wife had enough. She divorced him, packed up the kids, and moved to Ohio. Woody grew up there, far away from his father, and completely unaware of the dark path Charles was about to take. Through the rest of his 20s, Charles drifted in and out of trouble, prison time, and shady dealings. By the late 1960s, he was buried in gambling debt again, and that's when he made a terrifying career move. He became a hitman. His first job came in 1968. For a $1,500 payout, Charles was hired to take out a businessman. With the help of his girlfriend, who lured the man into a trap, Charles kidnapped him, drove him out to a remote spot, and shot him, then strangled him to make sure the job was done. Instead of laying low, he did the opposite. A few months later, he took another contract, this time for $2,000, and killed again. But this time, he got caught. Charles went on trial for the first murder, but the jury couldn't decide, so he walked free on that one. However, the second case stuck. He was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years in prison. Meanwhile, little Woody, just 12 years old at the time, had no idea what his father had become. One day, he heard a news report on the radio. Charles Harrelson is on trial for murder. That's how he learned that his dad was a killer. After serving only 5 years, Charles was released for good behavior. Most people would try to rebuild their lives after that, but not him. He fell back into gambling and, soon enough, back into the business of killing. In 1979, he got a new offer, this time from a Texas drug lord named Jimmy. Jimmy was facing serious prison time, and the judge assigned to his case, Maximum John Wood, was known for giving out the harshest possible sentences. Jimmy wanted the judge dead and offered Charles $250,000 to do it. Charles accepted. Since he couldn't legally buy a gun, he had his wife purchase a rifle for him. On the morning of the trial, he went to the judge's home, flattened one of the judge's car tires, and waited. When the judge came outside to check, Charles took aim from a distance and fired. The judge was killed instantly. The murder of a federal judge triggered one of the largest FBI investigations of that era. 9 months later, Charles was arrested, but only for a firearms charge. He was released on bail, and instead of showing up to court, he disappeared. By 1980, he was on the run, high on drugs, and completely paranoid. While driving one day, Charles became convinced that a bomb was hidden in his car's muffler. In a cocaine-fueled panic, he pulled over on the highway, grabbed his gun, and started shooting at his own car to detonate the imaginary bomb. Soon, police arrived, and Charles, armed and delusional, began a 6-hour standoff. During that chaos, he claimed he was the man who killed President John F. Kennedy, though that was never proven and is almost certainly false. Eventually, he was captured and taken into custody. Charles Harrelson was later convicted for the assassination of Judge Wood and sentenced to 2 life terms in prison.
Over time, he claimed to have been involved in many more murders, though it's impossible to know how much of that was true or just talk from a man who'd lost touch with reality. As for his son Woody, he barely knew his father, and yet he went on to become one of Hollywood's most respected and charismatic actors. It's wild to think that behind the easygoing charm of Woody Harrelson lies a past connected to one of the most notorious hitmen in modern American history.